30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a beautiful, hot Friday in Nashville, Tennessee. Boy, all of a sudden, it is starting to feel like summer. There's a lot going on today, so we're not going to waste a lot of time in getting you up to date on what's going on. The NCAA Baseball Tournament has begun, and for the very latest, a March Madness in June scoreboard update. Here's Billy Derrick.
June Madness. This is college baseball's best time of the year, and we've got regionals rolling on all over the country. And we start in Charlottesville, Virginia, all over Army in the top of the ninth, 15-1. So they're looking like they're going to advance, barring some sort of disaster.
I would hope that we could assume that, yes.
Yeah. Clemson and Lipscomb playing right now. They're in the bottom of the sixth. We've been watching it here. Clemson,
oh, have we ever?
Yeah, Clemson leads Lipscomb 6-5. Lipscomb has hit a few home runs, and they've played well. So we'll see if Lipscomb can pull off that upset and advance to the later game tomorrow. Wright State is up on Indiana State. Indiana State, one of the top 16 host teams. Wright State leads Indiana State 5-3 in the top of the eighth.
That would be a big upset.
Sure would. Wright State has been, you saw them last year, was it 2 years ago in the Knoxville Regional, almost beat Tennessee in that regional. So Wright State, a good 4 seed every year. They're in the tournament. NC State in the Columbia Regional leads Campbell 3-1 in the bottom of the sixth. And the winner of that, of course, will advance to tomorrow night's game. Bottom of the seventh, Washington leads Dallas Baptist 8-4 in the Stillwater Regional. And here in Nashville, we're going to have a couple live reports from Butch, Samide, and Jack Gold from the Nashville Regional. Xavier leads Oregon 4-3 heading into the seventh inning. So the winner of that one will most likely play Vanderbilt, considering Vanderbilt wins tonight. Duke leads UNC Wilmington 6-3 over in the Conway Regional in the top of the seventh. A lot of Carolina teams in that one. Maryland leads Northeastern 5-2 in the bottom of the eighth in the Winston-Salem Regional. Number 1 overall seed Wake Forest will play later tonight in that regional. And we've got a rain delay down in Miami in the Coral Gables Regional. No score yet between Louisiana and Texas, so we'll see if they're able to play today. Top of the fourth, Southern Miss trails Samford 1-0 down in Auburn in the Auburn Regional. So we'll see if Samford can pull off the upset there. And we've got a lot of other games later today, George, that will get started. Charlotte and Tennessee at 5 o'clock, and Vanderbilt and Eastern Illinois tonight at 7 o'clock at Hawkins Field. So there is your college baseball scoreboard update.
Okay, let's go out toward the ballpark, Hawkins Field to be exact. Let's start with Butch Samide and find out how this early game has gone so far. Butch, how are you?
George, I am great. I'm currently in the air-conditioned confines of Memorial Gym, so very, very good to get out of the heat for a minute. But this game has been really interesting so far. Early on, it kind of was what everyone thought it was. There's going to be a lot of scoring. Oregon coming into this game with their lineup, only 2 guys batting under 300, and Xavier having a hot offense going through their Big East Conference title run. It started 2-2 after the first inning, a lot of action. And since then, Xavier's pitcher, Brant Alazis, has really dialed in, only allowing 1 more run through the rest of the 5 innings he's pitched. And Oregon went to their bullpen early. Surprise start from Logan Mercado, who was their early Friday starter going into the year. His ERA jumped up above 5, moved him to the bullpen in their Pac-12 tournament run. He got beat up pretty bad to open it. Each Oregon pitcher, I believe, has given up multiple walks so far. So Oregon has really struggled putting these guys away. Interesting moves. They've gone to 2 freshman bullpen arms. Xavier's still running with their starter. It'll be interesting when they go into that bullpen, because both teams will tell you that their bullpen and their pitching would be the weakness of their team.
Butch, I'm afraid to ask, where are you?
Memorial Gym, George. I had to get some air conditioning in.
Lovely. I love it. Well, it's always good to be in Memorial Gym, but I'll say this. If you're looking for air conditioning, that's not your building.
Oh, they got 3 or 4 industrial fans set up right next to me, George. So they
Really?
came prepared. They came prepared. They must have known
Excellent.
I was coming. So they really rolled out the red carpet for me.
Okay, listen, we'll check back in with you right at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. Again, give people the score in the inning.
Yeah, so we are going into the top of the 7th, and it is still 4-3 Xavier over Oregon.
Excellent. Butch, thank you for the report.
Thank you, guys.
Now let's check in with Jack Gold, who is out amongst the patrons somewhere. Jack, this is a weird deal in that, the home team isn't playing in this first game. Is anybody there roasting?
For some reason, there's all kinds of Vandy fans here just showing up. But we've also got a decent bit of Xavier fans here as well, I would say. Xavier 3 seed, so I mean, I guess they're not expecting much, but they've got a decent fan. And then Oregon didn't get a great draw, I would say, coming all the way from Eugene. So they've got, maybe one section, probably 50 people here. But it's definitely more Vandy fans than anything. I've seen some interesting Mississippi State jersey. I guess they had, weren't here at all, so they had to come to some regional. I've seen a Tulane shirt. It's more than 19-win Tulane. So it's been an interesting crowd here today, and people much mentally tougher than I am wanting to come sit out in the heat and watch some baseball.
No, it means you're smarter than most of them. So I know when we come back at 3 o'clock, you're going to give people kind of a scouting report on Eastern Illinois, who will be Vandy's opponent tonight at 7. And then on the final report, we'll kind of go behind the numbers of the pitching matchup between Vandy and Eastern Illinois. Jack,
Yep.
Appreciate it. Like the background. And by the way, your mom and dad are watching.
Oh, God. No, I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, we'll find out on Monday. Reaction Monday. See you then.
See ya.
Okay, so good reports from both Butch Samide and Jack Gold. Tuesday, big day here on the show because it will be round 2 in our sports speaker series. And our guest will be Vanderbilt Athletic Director Candace Lee, and she's going to have a lot to talk about. Yeah, go ahead and put that up there. She'll have a lot to talk about with the most recent announcement of the enlargement and I guess to a point renovation of Hawkins Field. So let's go ahead and put that thing back up there. If you would like,
momentarily, we're still working on that graphic, but we'll get it up.
Okay. If for what it's worth, if you have not signed up, it's from 11:30 to about 12:45 out here at the Ford Ice Center, and it's as simple. If you want to come, it's a free event. Reserve seating by emailing me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, that's plastergeorge@gmail.com. Billy, what else you got?
George, last night, game 1 of the NBA Finals, Nuggets beat the Heat, 104-93. Nikola Jokic, big night, another walk in the park triple-double for him, 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 14 assists. Caleb Martin and Max Strus didn't shoot the ball well for the Heat. They were combined 1 for 11 from deep. Jimmy Butler, only had 13 points. He only had 2 free throw attempts. He's usually a guy that gets to the line a lot. Game 2 Sunday night, George, you got to feel like the Heat, if they want to stay in this series, you don't want to go down 0-2. Obviously, you'll be heading home, but if they can steal one, man, maybe game 2, they'd be sitting pretty.
Just my initial reaction to it all is that the Heat seem to still be kind of in the clouds over the win against the Celtics on Monday night at the Boston Garden. Denver showed no rust, which amazed me, and I think it even amazed them. They got off to a big start early. I'm going to assume that game 2 is going to be closer, that Miami is not going to let this thing get out of control early. Can I prove that? No, but that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the days of rest. Miami had 2 days rest. Nuggets had about a week and a half. So I think right as you start this series, the Nuggets have a slight advantage. But, we were talking yesterday. The Heat are back in Miami for game 3 and 4. I mean, they're a totally different team at home. It feels like every series, all these playoff series, Miami always finds a way to play better at home. But you've got to have those supporting guys. David and I were talking about it before we got on today. You can't have Caleb Martin and Max Strus playing that poorly. I mean, they have to shoot well for you, especially when Jimmy Butler isn't doing a whole lot. So,
but in fairness, if you get in Strus's jock a little bit, he's not going to score. He can't put the ball on the floor. He's a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
He's a great shooter if he's left open, and some teams have left him open.
Yeah.
But this just in, Denver was not one of those teams.
No, you're not playing the Celtics. I mean, this is the Nuggets defense that has been locked down all season long. So the Heat are going to have to get creative this series. Luckily for Heat fans, Spoelstra has done a great job of that. That's the Heat culture they like to promote. So game 2, Sunday night, Heat and Nuggets. Got a couple of other NBA notes, George. The Phoenix Suns are finalizing a deal to hire Frank Vogel as their head coach. They offered Vogel, the job this morning, and they're expected to complete terms on a long-term deal. Finalists for the job were Doc Rivers, of course, Vogel, and Suns assistant Kevin Young. So the Phoenix decided to go with Frank Vogel instead of Doc Rivers.
When I think of Vogel, I'm just like,
yeah.
I don't get a lot of... And I'll bet the reaction in Phoenix has been sort of...
With NBA coaches...
There's a lot of recycling.
They're more than any other professional sport, I feel like.
But just remember this. About the time you say, well, he's recycled, can't mean it, doesn't mean it's going to work out.
Yeah.
2 words. Joe Torre. Joe Torre had been hired and fired about 4 different times before Steinbrenner got him with the Yankees, and he was brilliant at somehow keeping the boss off his back long enough to have a long career.
And I think about another manager by the name of Dusty Baker.
Yes.
Who found a nice home with the Astros and sort of revitalized his career a little bit. So
good point.
We'll see about Frank Vogel and the Phoenix Suns there. Adam Silver, yesterday, David made sure that I brought this up today, and I hadn't heard about it, but Silver had an announcement on Ja Morant's suspension. He said it'll be made after the NBA Finals. He had this to say: "We look at both the history of prior acts and we look at the player's history as well as the seriousness, of course, of the conduct. We've uncovered a fair amount of additional information.
Yeah.
We could have brought it to a head now, but we made the decision that would be unfair to the players and teams to announce it in the middle of the series."
Which is a bunch of poppycock.
So they
what?
know what they're going to do.
Oh, sure. But, look, if they announced it, let's make up tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know that really matters a whole. I guess it would steal the spotlight.
So what? Come on. By Sunday night when they get to game 2, you think anybody cares?
No, I feel like that's a little sensitive on the NBA's part.
More than a little.
Yeah, they want to wait after the finals are over on a dead Friday, announced Ja Morant's suspension. George, SEC football yesterday, big piece of news. Right as we got off, I think it was around 5 o'clock, and they won't be moving to a 9-game conference schedule after all, but it will be going forward in 2024 without divisions. Greg Sankey told reporters yesterday they have approved a temporary 8-game conference schedule for the 2024 football season. This has gotten a lot of opinions and debates started in the South, of course. What say you, George?
That's what I always thought was going to happen. Look, I think there are too many coaches out there in the SEC who are saying, if we go to 9 games, we're not going to end up with a bowl bid.
So you're saying this is more of the Kentucky, the Mississippi States.
And I don't know where Vandy is on it. Don't know where Tennessee is on it. But first of all, there's certain schools that deep down probably don't think they're ever going to be in a college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And their emphasis is more on getting a bowl bid.
Yeah.
So you play 8 conference games. You schedule 4 Sisters of the Poor. You get 4 of your 6 wins there. And if you can go 2-6 in the conference, you can get to a minor bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the end, that ruled the day as opposed to some schools who are like, bring on all of them. We can beat them all.
And you've got to take into account the 12-team playoff. That's a longer playoff, and that's more of a grind. I mean, that's going to be a lot tougher to win the national title now that you've got a 12-team playoff. So I think coaches like Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Josh Heupel are sitting there saying, we may want a week of rest against, an Eastern Illinois or an Akron or a Tennessee Tech late in the season instead of that 9th conference game against, maybe a pesky.
Nick's changed his tune a little bit.
Oh, yeah. He wouldn't have been saying this a couple of years ago, I don't think, but there's some teams that have caught up with him, and now Nick Saban has shifted a little bit. So I think it's just as much about the top teams like Alabama and Tennessee as it is the Mississippi States and the Kentuckys.
So let me ask this before we go to the break. When we started the show live, Clemson led Lipscomb 6-5. I think it was bottom 6. Anything changed there?
Nothing changed. Clemson's still up 6-5 in the top of the 7th.
Okay.
So it's kind of a slow-moving game, but Lipscomb hanging in there. They've got 9 hits. Clemson only has 7, so we'll see if they can hit another one of those home runs they've hit today to take a late lead. So we'll keep you guys updated.
If it happens, don't be shocked if Jeff Forehand ends up on this show during the 3 o'clock hour. That's what I'm rooting for.
Just like Georgia back in the day.
Absolutely. After the break, Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, will join us, and we will talk Titans football. Good, bad, who knows, maybe ugly. Stay tuned.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Lanes. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
If you're looking for a football camp for your son or daughter that stresses the fundamentals and doing things right, let me suggest the Hometown Football Camp. Here's former MTSU quarterback Wes Counts.
The Hometown Football Camp is a youth football camp at Battleground Academy, June 19th through 21st. This is a working skills camp for young football players to learn proper technique and skills to prepare them for the upcoming season. Our coaches have won championships at both high school and college levels and are eager to pass along their knowledge. So if the young football player in your life wants to be successful this fall, send them to the Hometown Football Camp. Register at hometownfootballcamp.com. That's hometownfootballcamp.com.
Okay, we are back on a beautiful Friday afternoon from our permanent digs out at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. We are thrilled to be here. Looking forward to next Tuesday, our second Sports Speaker Series luncheon. Candace Lee, Vanderbilt Athletic Director, will be the featured speaker at that. If you would like to be a part of what will be a long form, probably about an hour and 15 minutes, from about 11:30 to 12:45, simply email me to reserve a seat, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Terry McCormick knew me when I didn't even have an email address and didn't know what any of this stuff was. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing well, George. How are you?
Very, very nice background.
Thank you. It's part of a thing that your buddy Chris Kulik and I put together in my garage. At some point very soon, it's going to have a sponsor on it so that we can go forward with a Titans update on Main Street Media.
Okay,
it's
I like
funny.
that.
I thought Terry was reporting live from minicamp. The backdrop tricked me.
It matches George's shirt
beautifully, but what it does not have is that right there.
Oh.
Can you see that, Terry?
No, what is that?
That would be Battleground Academy.
Battleground Academy.
Thank you. So Brett Kern, I guess earlier this week, retired as a Titan. Great punter, terrific angler of punts when need be. And Terry, from what I remember, a really good guy to go with it.
No doubt about it. Top notch all the way. On the field, off the field, in the locker room. This is a guy that put in 13 years here, was a 3-time Pro Bowler, made an All-Pro team one season, and I think in 2019. Just a guy that kind of exemplified a lot of what this franchise was about for a lot of years. I know people don't often say that about a punter, but he was a guy who went out and got the job done and and then was very professional on the field and off.
Terry, talk to people who maybe don't pay a lot of attention to NFL football in May and early June. I've always had fun with it, called it glorified babysitting. But the OTAs, tell us what's been going on, what else is left before they actually get to training camp.
Well, the biggest thing is they've been installing a new offense that Tim Kelly is going to run. It's going to be a little different than Todd Downing and what he ran the last couple of years, and that may not be a bad thing. But I think you're going to see this team probably try to go with a little more up-tempo, a little bit quicker throws, things, so incorporate some of those types of things into what they already were doing, obviously with Derrick Henry and the run game, but trying to figure out some ways to, get the ball going, tire out the defense, and maybe, do some different things maybe that we haven't seen a lot of over the last 3 or 4 years.
Terry, was this Vrabel's idea, or did Kelly sell Vrabel on it?
Probably a little of both. Mike's pretty familiar with Tim from their time together in Houston. And let's be honest, Tim Kelly did a pretty good job in, I think it was 2020 or 2021, I guess it was, with Davis Mills, who was a 4th-round rookie quarterback. Now, he has since regressed, but he did a pretty decent job in the absence of Deshaun Watson in 2021 of getting that Houston offense to, rally around Davis Mills and to put some points on the board. Even though it wasn't a very good ball club, they were in a lot of games where the final was, 31-27. So the Titans could probably use some recreation of an offense that can put some points on the board, because goodness knows they were dull as dirt last year and had very few points to show for it.
So, Terry, this is a question that has been bandied about a lot. And by the way, speaking of questions, Billy, tell people what's coming in the 3 o'clock hour.
Yeah, in the 3 o'clock hour, we're going to have the Ask the Director segment. Yeah.
Oh.
The director is George Plaster. So fire your questions.
Damn right it is.
And we will have those questions answered in our chat and comment section. So
a person Terry could do what to ask a question?
Terry could search or type in the comment section on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook and type a question.
Everything fair game here, George, from like
sports.
What's the weather forecast for tomorrow? But
I can tell you.
All the way to who won the NL pennant in 1937, all those sorts of
Terry,
things.
let me give you the forecast. Wear some sunscreen. It's going to be hot, like 90-degree hot. So here's a question that I get asked in the last few days, and I bet you've been asked this. Do the Titans have the salary cap room to sign DeAndre Hopkins if they so desire?
Yeah, they can make it work. I mean, they've got right now, I think people are saying around $10 million, but that doesn't count the rookie classes and all and things like that. But I think they can get creative without having to do anything crazy to add DeAndre Hopkins if the deal's within reason. I think the fact that, if he comes out here and wants an Odell Beckham Jr. type deal with, $15 to $18 million, I'm sure the Titans are probably going to say no to that. But if they could work an incentive-laden deal or a one-year deal that's structured creatively, or maybe a 2-year deal that reverts back to a 1-year deal with some voidable years, yes. The answer is yes, George. If they want to make this happen and DeAndre Hopkins is interested in them, they can.
Okay, do you have any real reason to believe they're in hot pursuit of him?
Not at the present time. I think they're probably doing their homework on him. They're probably, taking a look to see, what type of salary structure. They may have dipped their toe in the water, so to speak, to do their due diligence. But I have no reason to believe right now that they are the front runner or in hot pursuit of Hopkins at the present time.
Well, I mean, it's one thing to be the front runner. First of all, he'd have to have an interest. Kelly asked me this question a few days ago. Why would any receiver have any interest? And I couldn't really give him a good answer. I mean, they've sunk to the lowest level of NFL offense while everybody else is trying to get big chunks. They're playing 10 yards at a time. They didn't think A.J. Brown was worth keeping. If you're DeAndre Hopkins, why would you be looking at the Titans?
That's certainly a fair question. And I think that before DeAndre Hopkins or any receiver came here, I think that they would want answers to that question from Mike Vrabel, from Rand Carthon, and from Tim Kelly. Because, this offense will look a little different in 2023 with Tim Kelly calling the shots. I mean, that's one advantage maybe that the Titans do have, is that DeAndre Hopkins has played for and had success under Tim Kelly, and Mike Vrabel was there for part of the time that he was in Houston. So he knows them very well. But is that enough to persuade him, like you said, to come to a team that, sometimes seems, have an aversion to the forward pass?
So let me ask this, Terry. I would assume that between now and the start of the NFL regular season, DeAndre Hopkins is by a mile the best receiver that's going to be on the market from this day forward. True?
True. I don't think there's anybody that's going to come free unexpectedly that's going to top his resume.
Okay. Just thought I'd get that out there. I am a little surprised to hear you say that financially they could pull the deal.
Yeah, I mean, they may have to get creative with it, or get creative with one of their other players with a restructure. They could restructure, say, Harold Landry, and make his $18 million cap hit a little less in order to free up some space. I know that there have been some bloggers out there that still throwing out that they could, cut Kevin Byard, they could cut Derrick Henry, they could cut Ryan Tannehill. Well, at this juncture, that thought is foolish. They're not doing any of that. They're going forward with all three of those guys going into camp and going into the season. Because if you were going to make those moves, you would have already done it so that you could move on from it and assess what you have left and where you're going.
Terry, the other thing that gets a lot of water cooler kind of talk right now is Will Levis. I don't know what you've been able to see or what you haven't seen of him. If you've got some opinions, share them now or forever. Hold your peace.
Okay, I'll go ahead and share them, George. For the most part, I've been impressed with the kid, not only in terms of, his ability to pick up the offense and, the strong arm that he has. He's also been good to deal with in the media. He answers questions. He's accountable when things are not right. And that's what you want in a quarterback. You want a guy who takes charge, who shoulders the load when he doesn't do well enough and gives credit to others, when things do go well. Now, that said, he's got a long way to go, and this may be a good thing for him to have Ryan Tannehill this year to watch, because you're going to see C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson all probably get thrown into the fire from the get-go. And sometimes the on-the-job training works and a guy goes on to a marvelous career. Sometimes it just absolutely kills the guy's confidence, especially if you don't have an offensive line to protect him, if you don't have receivers who can pick him up and make good plays for him, or you don't have a running game to keep him out of those 3rd and 8 situations where the defense is eager to pin its ears back and come after you. The fact that Levis has the opportunity to watch at least part of this year, barring injury or barring a 1-6 start or something like that, he's going to get to watch, he's going to get to learn, and he's going to be going into 2024 ready to go. He'll still basically be a rookie in terms of his experience, but he'll have the knowledge of watching and learning what it's like to be an NFL player. As far as the other things that he needs to work on, George, the touch pass, the accuracy on short throws where he has to deliver something other than the 98-mile-an-hour fastball. When he cuts it loose, he can put it into tight windows, and he can find it as good as any young quarterback that I've seen come through the Titans camp. That includes anybody that they've drafted over the years. But when it comes to the touch passes, the ones where you have to take just a little bit off to give your guy the chance to catch and run, those sorts of things, that's where he's got to work on, because sometimes in that, the accuracy of the ball wants to sail a little bit, it misses the mark, or it wants to wobble a little bit. And those are all things he's going to have to work on as he goes forward and in learning how to be an NFL quarterback.
Obviously, Traylon Burks last year was the topic of discussion with the asthma issues. And, as everybody's freaking out about that. But this season, how different has that been? How different has he looked? Has that been an issue at all? And, how much bigger, stronger, faster does he look this year as opposed to last year?
He looks to be in much better shape. He looks to be a guy that seems to get it now. A lot of times these rookies come in, especially if they're a high pick, and maybe they don't realize all that goes into the preparation to be a pro. And I think Traylon Burks, after going what he went through last year, I think he's starting to realize what it takes to be a pro and to have some success. He's in better condition, which should help with the asthma issue. It also should help with the soft tissue injuries and things like that. Maybe you won't have to worry about hamstrings and strains and things like that. So I think so far, so good with Traylon Burks. Now, am I ready for it to say he's going to have a 1,300-yard, 6-touchdown receiving year and be A.J. Brown? No, I'm not ready to say that, because I think he's far away. He hasn't proven anything of the like thus far. But I do think that Ryan Tannehill is starting to gain some confidence in this kid, and that can't be a bad thing there, Billy.
So, Terry, let's go back to Levis for one more question. I think the Titans' offensive line is better simply because it couldn't get any worse. I don't know to what level of good or better it is. Nobody really will until they play for real. But if Ryan Tannehill takes anything close to the kind of hits he took a year ago, Will Levis is going to have to play some. You're telling me right now the biggest hurdle he's got is the touch ball. And in the NFL, we all know you're going to have to be able to learn the touch ball. Man in the National Football League is not made by fastballs alone. If he has to play fairly early in the season, what's it going to look like, in your opinion?
I think they'll probably simplify things as much as possible. I think you'll see them rely on Derrick Henry and go back, 25 touches a game for Derrick, and then complement it with the pass game. A little like what they tried to do with Malik Willis last year, but I do believe that Levis is eons more ready than Willis was last year to take the reins of the offense, just simply for the fact that he played in a pro-style offense and simply for the fact that he played in the Southeastern Conference as a starting quarterback for 2 years. So I think in those regards, I think Will Levis is much more ready to play. How much more ready, though? That's a situation where he's going to be learning as he goes, trying to figure this thing out if he has to go in there and play and spell Ryan Tannehill.
Okay, after the break, here's some things I'm going to ask Terry. Today, is Will Levis already better than Malik Willis? What level of progression has Malik Willis made? And what really is going on with Kevin Byard, who clearly was pissed off about what the Titans tried to do with his contract and said thanks, but no thanks. Now, let's talk Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. At the bottom of the screen, you see the dates, August the 4th through the 6th. I've tried to be honest during this commercial. I've never been to a Grand Prix, but I'll tell you this, that will all change August the 4th through the 6th. And I'll tell you why. Partly out of curiosity. Over the first 2 years of this, people who were in the same boat as me, never been to one, never really had any background with it, a lot of them have come away saying incredible things. Stuff like, it's the coolest athletic event I've ever been to. So I want to see that for myself. So I'm going. Now, you see the words Music City. Let me tell you what, they have amassed an array of musical hits, of musical acts during those 3 days that is an absolute who's who to go with the great racing. Tickets are on sale. They have been now for about 6 weeks. You can start at the general admission level and work all the way up to the top of the floor of amenities. Simply go on their website, musiccitygp.com. Again, musiccitygp.com. We'll take a break. We'll talk more Titans football when we come back.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Quick college baseball scoreboard update. Top of the 8th inning in Clemson. Clemson Tigers 7, Lipscomb Bisons 5. We'll keep you updated. We'll have a complete scoreboard update at 3 o'clock, and we'll also go back out to Hawkins Field to get a report on Xavier and Oregon. That guy to the right is Terry McCormick. Main Street Media has covered the Titans for many, many years, and only now does he have his own backdrop.
It was a long time in the making.
Really, it's a real show of progress. Terry, this is the kind of thing people are curious about. At this very moment, is Will Levis already ahead in your mind of Malik Willis?
He's neck and neck, maybe a little ahead. And I say that because he comes from a more pro-style offense than Malik Willis. He didn't have to start at square one in terms of learning what to do as far as commanding the huddle, as far as, adjusting at the line of scrimmage, taking snaps under center, those sorts of things. My guess is that he will be number 2 before training camp is over. Right now, they're working him as number 3. But I've got to believe that if he keeps progressing, he's going to jump to number 2 probably a week or so into camp.
Okay, once the NFL sort of changed the third quarterback rule, it seems to give Malik a possibility of a Titan life moving forward. They tried to paint this, he's improved a ton since, that December 24th, damn near blizzard conditions when they played Houston, or at least cold conditions. Terry, has he made much improvement in your opinion?
He looks better on the practice field. He looks improved. He looks more comfortable in terms of what he's supposed to do, in terms of throwing the football. Now, on Thursday, I guess it was, or Wednesday, I guess it was, when we got a look at him, he was late on a couple of throws. You could see that, that was an issue for him last year, but not nearly as bad as last year. And then there was one play where he just let the ball rip right on a timing route and threaded the needle between 2 defenders to Chikakonkwo, and it was as pretty a pass as you would want to see. Now, granted, that's against air, or the next thing to air. It's no pads, 7-on-7, or team drills, whatever you want to call it, those sorts of things. But it looked better than most anything he did last year. So there is some improvement in Malik Willis. And let's face it, if Ryan Tannehill is gone at the end of this year, they could do worse than to have 2 guys on rookie contracts at the quarterback position, which will allow them to go and spend whatever they want to bolster the roster elsewhere.
Okay, let me try it this way. A year ago, in the Baltimore preseason game that started the preseason, Vrabel really got all over Malik Willis about the improvising. And I get Vrabel's point that, at some point you got to be a pocket passer if you're going to prosper in the National Football League. But I also get, having watched Malik Willis very close in college, that's what that kid did. He was sort of a freewheeling, he was in an offensive system where it was built around his ability, at times when a play would break down, to use his wheels to make things happen. Do you think they have hindered him by almost scaring him into don't do anything?
There may be some of that. I think that last year they certainly tried to fit the square peg into the round hole at times with Malik. I think what you get with Malik Willis is a guy who has a unique skill set, and that's something that Tim Kelly said the other day, that they wanted to take advantage of his unique skill set. But in doing that, he has to operate still within the offense. They can't change the entire offense for a guy who's probably going to be a third-string quarterback. But if it gets to the point where he goes into a game, they need to be able to use some of that. I think what Vrabel did last year, taking him out after a scramble that was a nice gain, I think that was just a way to send a message to him to say, it may have worked this time, but it's not your ticket to long-term survivability in the National Football League, because the defenders are bigger than you are and they're just as fast. And at some point, they're going to make you pay for those types of plays where you're escaping out the back of the pocket, turning your back to the defense, and then wheeling around and trying to see open field. I think they're trying to discourage that as much as possible with this kid and get him to be more accomplished in the system, so that not only so that he can run the offense, but then allow his natural instincts to take over when plays break down. And that type of thing may be needed.
Terry, before we get to Kevin Byard, any players who have surprised you in the glorified babysitting, the OTAs, whether good or bad, anything really that you've said, okay, this sticks out?
One guy who stuck out, and I think this was a pick that everybody was critical of when they made it this year, but one guy who has really stuck out has been running back Tyjae Spears, whom they took with the third-round pick. I'm not ready to say he's going to supplant Derrick Henry or anything like that, but this kid's got some juke to him. He can run. He's got some acceleration. When the ball's in his hands, he makes good things happen. Now, he may end up having those knee problems that they were talking about that he had at Tulane, but for what he is and for what he brings to the table, he's a guy that's going to get some touches for this team, I believe, this year, George.
Okay, Terry, is it because he's an intriguing piece? A lot of us didn't understand in the third round when they needed a wide receiver so desperately. They must have been really impressed with this kid. Are they more viewing him in the running back slot, or is it more, okay, Derrick Henry is there, this guy is going to be our wide receiver coming out of the backfield?
Well, he's going to catch the football a little bit out of the backfield. He's made a couple of nice plays in camp. That's going to be part of his role, but also part of his role will be to spell Derrick Henry, to be a change of pace back, something that they've not had. I think one of the things that maybe they want to get away from, if they can, Derrick Henry had almost 350 rushes last year. And, for how much longer that type of workload is sustainable, I'm not sure, because he's now 29 years old. So I think what they're trying to do is get a complementary piece to Derrick Henry, so that maybe instead of 350 carries, maybe Derrick's somewhere between 275 and 300 carries, and Tyjae Spears maybe, gets 75 to 100 carries.
Okay, now let's get to Kevin Byard. Clearly he was pissed off by the move that Rand Carthon attempted to make with him. He has shown his displeasure. The flip side is he's one of the most popular Titans, and he's one of those that's actually out in the community and has community support. So has anything gone on since then that either says, okay, they've patched it up, or oh, this latest move means trouble down the road?
Well, Kevin had a celebrity golf tournament or something like that a couple of weeks ago for charity. And a number of people from the Titans organization, including Mike Vrabel, attended it. So, they caught up there. But I think Kevin is probably staying in communication with his defensive coaches and with Vrabel. But I do think he's making a point to say, hey, I don't like what you did. I'm staying away until I have to be there. It'll be interesting this week at minicamp to see what Kevin has to say, because I'm pretty sure he'll show up to the mandatory minicamp. But it's interesting, because of all the players on this team that you would go to and say, hey, we need you to take a pay cut, out of 90 players on the roster, wouldn't Kevin Byard be number 90 in your mind, George, as far as how well that would go over within the locker room and within the community?
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it.
So maybe chalk it up to a rookie move by Rand Carthon as the GM, just trying to find cap space somewhere. But Kevin Byard, I think, is standing his ground, and he's basically saying, look, I've done everything you've asked of me here and more. I'm still a high-level player. It's not my fault that you restructured and moved my contract numbers around so many times that now I have a $19 million cap hit. Figure it out.
Terry, let's sort of end it this way. When the draft was over, not many people came out and said, wow, what a draft the Titans had. And God knows that's what needed to happen. But these things are never necessarily won, in April right after a draft. It's what do they do later? So based on what you've seen so far, and admittedly it's OTAs, it's glorified babysitting, do you feel better about their draft, about the same place you did all along? Kind of give me some thoughts.
Well, I still think there are areas that need to be addressed. Obviously, they didn't do enough at receiver. With all due respect to Colton Dowell, who's a local kid, I think he's going to probably contribute and be a part of the 53-man roster, barring some sort of change. But I don't think you can. It's unfair to put a lot on his shoulders as a seventh-round rookie. I still think they need help there. But as well as I do, George, the two things they had to get out of this draft. They needed help at receiver. They got a little bit, but probably not enough. The other thing is, did they fix the offensive line? Skoronski, you won't be able to tell until he gets the pads on, but he certainly looks the part. And then, George, the one thing that this draft is going to be graded on more than anything else, and you know exactly what that is, it's whether or not Will Levis becomes a franchise quarterback. If 2 years from now they're talking about Will Levis in the same context of Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert, then it doesn't matter what the other picks did in this draft. That draft was a win. If they're still searching for a franchise guy in 2025 and saying it's time to draft the next one, then this draft is probably going to be a failure no matter what else comes of it.
Want to give me a gut feeling?
I think Levis is going to be all right. I'm not ready to proclaim him the next Patrick Mahomes, but I think he's going to be all right. I think he's a guy who gets it. I think he understands, and maybe the fall on the first night of draft night wasn't the worst thing that could have happened to him.
Terry, thank you as always for a good report. I leave you with this peace offering.
Okay.
Enjoy competing for the wild card.
Well, I don't think we're going to win the division. It doesn't look promising.
It doesn't.
The Rays are getting it done in front of those 5,000 faithful fans that they have.
God, they don't get much for their wins, do they?
They don't. They really don't.
They get no payroll. They get no attendance. Move to Nashville.
Come on. Bring
it on. Larry, thank you.
What was that deal they did with Arozarena, though, in left field? Did they do something creative with him? Every time he hits a home run, I think people get free beer or something out there.
Yeah.
Which
I think is great to get those people sloshed, but I don't see that it's helped their attendance to any great extent.
The only attraction seems to be left field at the Trop.
Terry, have a big one. Have a
good
weekend.
Right, see you guys.
Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, joining us after the break. We'll have stat of the day. We'll have an NCAA Baseball Tournament scoreboard update, live report from somewhere near Vandy, and then the moment all of you have awaited. Ask the director. It's big.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general. Baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. It's time for Saturday on this Friday. Saturday presented to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards, located in Shelbyville, Tennessee. 204 East Depot Street is where you can find them. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So give them a call at 931-492-4304. Danny and Kelly have been kicking my butt lately with stat of the day. So George is going to have to pay the piper on behalf of them, though.
Yeah.
So this one's going to be difficult for George, but it's an interesting stat. Yesterday, former Titans punter Brett Kern officially retired from the NFL. Kern, who joined the Titans organization in 2009, was one of 2 players to play for every single Titans head coach since their move to Nashville. Can you name the only other player to play for every single Titans head coach since their move to Nashville?
Okay, Billy, let me ask you this.
Billy has already seen the answer.
Billy's seen the answer. Okay. The first thought I have is Taylor Lewan.
Are we going to go with that one? Or?
Yeah, we are.
It is not Taylor Lewan.
Oh, no.
Do you want to try again? Taylor Lewan did not play for Jeff Fisher.
I thought he did. Wow.
Go back a little bit further.
Go back a little bit further.
Just
Holy
a little bit
cow. Just a little further.
Defensive player.
You can give me a lot of hints.
This was a good find. This I did not come up with this one.
This was a
gave to
great
me.
find.
Okay, go ahead and lay it on us.
It is Derek Morgan.
Oh my God!
2010 draft.
From Georgia Tech.
Correct.
I forgot all about him, but he was a good player. For
Yes,
the Titans.
he was. Good, solid player. He wasn't great. He was solid.
Did he play at Rutgers?
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. Okay.
First round pick.
Yeah.
But this was a good stat. So credit
That's
to
a really
Jerome
good one.
Bagwell for giving me that one.
Jerome Bagwell. That was a good stat.
Jerome, thank you so much. Okay. We begin the 3 o'clock hour and we get into NCAA Baseball Tournament. This is the opening day all across the country. There is a regional in Nashville. We'll get to that in a moment. But, Billy, let's get the latest in a scoreboard update.
We start in the Charlottesville Regional. Mentioned earlier, Virginia was all over Army, and they end up winning that game 15-1 in their own house. So Army.
Mercy kill.
Yeah, mercy kill. It says final wasn't. Are they not doing the 10 after 7 run rule in the NCAA tournament?
I don't know if that applies for NCAA tournament game.
I think it's only an SEC thing, so I guess that's good for some teams. But Virginia beats Army 15-1. Kentucky ended up beating Ball State 4-0 in their own regional.
Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue. Texas Tech holds on to beat UConn 3-2 down in Gainesville. So it looks like Florida, if they win tonight, will face Texas Tech tomorrow. Indiana State comes back to beat Wright State. Wright State was up 4-1 in that game. Indiana State in Terre Haute up in Indiana beats Wright State just barely 6-5. Wright State has been one of the more pesky teams over the years.
Survive and advance.
That's what it's all about. Washington beats Dallas Baptist 9-5 over in Stillwater. So Washington will await Oklahoma State most likely if they're able to win later tonight. Here in Nashville, and we'll get a report from Butch and Jack here in a moment, but Oregon comes back to beat Xavier 5-4 at Hawkins Field. Xavier was up 4-3 late in that one. Oregon scores a couple of runs, and they knock off the Musketeers. So the Musketeers head to the losers bracket. Oregon will await the winner of Vandy and Eastern Illinois tonight, and we'll see what happens there. Duke puts up 12 runs against UNC Wilmington. They beat what are they? The Seahawks, I think UNC Wilmington is.
Who knows?
12-3 in the Conway Regional. Maryland beats Northeastern over in Winston-Salem 7-2.
Okay, now here's a stat of the day for you. Who is Northeastern's coach?
I have no idea.
Well, I do know.
Who is that?
Tom Glavin's brother, Mike.
Really?
Yep.
He's done a great job at Northeastern.
Yes, he has.
They've got a great program. Lipscomb and Clemson, bottom of the 8th. Clemson leads 8-5.
Okay, as soon as we've got a final, let's get that.
We've got a bunch of other games going on right now. They have resumed play down in Coral Gables. I guess the rain was sort of a quick pass-through. No score between Louisiana and Texas in the top of the 2nd. Sanford and Southern Miss are tied at 1 in the bottom of the 8th down in Auburn.
Wow.
End of the 3rd inning. So after 3 innings, Santa Clara leads number 3 overall seed Arkansas out in Fayetteville at Baum Walker Stadium. So If Santa Clara
What's the score?
2-0. Did I not mention?
A lot of calling of the Hogs.
No,
right
they're
now.
not calling any Hogs right now. Speaking of another national seed, LSU all over Tulane right now, 4-0 early, midway through the fourth, down in Baton Rouge. No surprise there. Paul Skeens is pitching. He's only given up 2 hits. Troy and Boston College are tied at 3 down in Tuscaloosa, but they are in a rain delay right now. So I think that rain is pushing up, and I think we might get some in Nashville later tonight.
Oh,
but,
let's hope not.
We'll see. So they're delayed down in Alabama. And we've got a lot of other games tonight, George. So there is your scoreboard update.
We will get you another one. Those of you who are watching live, will get you one sometime around 3:40 before we leave the air. As Billy mentioned, Oregon had a dramatic rally this afternoon in Nashville to beat Xavier 5-4. Butch Samide watched the game and files this report. I don't know if that's a prison behind him, if that's what he has succumbed to. Are you under house arrest?
Well, George, we were almost kicked out of the game, so not quite prison, but it is the Loomis Tennis Center at Vanderbilt, right outside of the center field wall there. But we tried going back into Memorial Gym, was met by about 2 or 3 security guards, and we were told that we had to exit out the other way, and so we had to. You know what? We're making do with what we got, George. That's what we're doing.
Oh, absolutely. So it's good. You're not under house arrest. How did Oregon? It was dramatic, their comeback. Let's talk a little bit about it.
Yes, so if you remember what I was saying in the first update, all it came down to was Xavier's bullpen. When were they going to go to the bullpen? Brant Lazarus had a great start, 6 1/3, but Xavier brings in Jonathan Kelly. He gives up 3 straight doubles. So Oregon takes the lead, scoring 2 runs in the top of the 7th inning. Jonathan Kelly would take the loss. Austin Anderson for Oregon would get the win, shutting down Xavier. And then Josh Malaris for Oregon got the save late on a game-ending double play from Xavier's catcher. Very emotional game, very close game. Xavier, looking back, had 3 errors, 2 by their starting third baseman, 1 that scored a run. So Xavier was very much so in this ball game. But, you know, you look at the 2 different philosophies. Oregon attacked them with 6 different pitchers, and then once Xavier goes away from their slower-throwing lefty to a hard righty, that's when it kills them.
Interesting. Okay, so 5-4 the final. Oregon with the win. The Ducks will be in the winner's bracket tomorrow night at 8 o'clock to get the winner of Vandy in Eastern Illinois. Butch, good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, George.
Stay out of prison. Now let's check in with his compadre, Jack Gold, and let's see where Jack is. Jack, give me a location update.
I'm about 20 feet from Butch right here. I got a little bit of a better background, though. I had to get this guy in the back.
Yeah, nice foliage, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so people going to the game tonight are probably assuming that Vandy is going to beat Eastern Illinois. They're the bigger name. They're the one with all the tradition. But tell us what Eastern Illinois brings to the table.
Yeah, so I would say that assumption is probably right there. Eastern Illinois has about 4 or 5 guys in the lineup that hit above 300, and they're really a matchup-based team. So it's not really the outfield and the first baseman and the catcher are staples, and then their big guy is Ryan Ignatho is his name. He's a 5th-year senior, has played about all 5 years, hits about 340. He's got 15 home runs on the year as a DH and first baseman, also has about 29 stolen bases, and he also is one of their best relief pitchers as well. So he really is the guy for them, kind of the X factor of their whole team, but outside of him, there's not a lot of excitement on the team.
Have they brought a good fan base to this regional?
I've seen about 2 Eastern Illinois shirts, so I wouldn't say the best people.
Well, it's hard to know yet since they weren't playing in the noon game. Any other notes about what you saw earlier today you want to share with us?
Yeah, I would expect Oregon probably tomorrow to kind of have a similar approach to the Vandy game. They're more of an offensive team, one of the best offensive teams in the nation, and they went, 5 or 6 pitchers today. I'd expect the same thing tomorrow. Their ace is injured and isn't expected to come back. So it's just kind of a pitch by committee group, and it should be a good game tomorrow.
You want to say hello to Dad?
Yeah, I'll see him later.
And I'll see you Monday. Oh, we got one more report later. Want to know about the pitching matchup tonight. Jack, thank you as always.
Yes, sir.
Jack Gold reporting from somewhere over on the Vandy campus. Again, Oregon rallies late to beat Xavier 5-4. Oregon will be in the winner's bracket tomorrow night against Vandy. That's an 8:00 game. I say against Vandy, who knows? The whoever wins the Vandy Eastern Illinois game will move on to that winner's bracket. The losers of the 2 games today, we know Xavier's one of them. We don't know who the other one is yet. They'll play tomorrow at 2:00 in what will be a big old roast fest.
Sure will. It's going to be hot today. Luckily, Vandy starts at 7:00 tonight and not the early game. LSU's playing right now. Weirdly, I don't know why. I would assume that's the NCAA saying this is the time you're playing.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a TV thing. I don't know if schools.
It's got to be TV because they're on
so.
ESPNU, and I guess there's another game later tonight on ESPNU. They want to try to squeeze in as much top flight action as they can.
Clemson was another one though that took a day game.
Yeah, I guess they split it up and basically say, here's what you got. You might get stuck with the afternoon game. But yeah, George, are we ready for Ask the Director?
Oh, I think it's it's an exciting way to end the week.
Oh, it sure is. I've got mine ready, and I think I've got a good one.
Okay. Now, each of you have 2, correct?
Yes.
Yours last time wasn't very good, so I hope you stepped up your game and actually did some homework and research.
I did. I put a lot of thought into this one. So,
now, how much research do you have to do to have a question?
Well, you want to have some background to your question.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay. So let's start with Billy, who is the senior member of the table. That table down there. I, of course, am the senior
member of that one up there.
I'm senior something. Soon to be a senior citizen.
All right, George, here we go. LSU playing right now against Tulane. Tulane is a team that had to win their conference tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. They finished the year with 19 wins, 19 and 40 losses. That's the most in the tournament. So they're the 4 seed playing LSU right now. LSU has the best pitcher in the country, Paul Skeens. They decided to start him today in game 1 against Tulane, but the depth behind him hasn't been great all year. Now, they've been good at times, but you really never know what you're going to get from the other guys like Thatcher Hurd and Ty. What's the other guy's name?
I know where
Ty
you're
Floyd.
going with this.
So, and it feels like every team has a different strategy. So if you were Coach Jay Johnson, would you have waited to pitch Paul Skeens later in this regional against the 2 and the 3 seed, right? I mean, because that's better competition, obviously, than the 4 seed. Would you have waited to pitch Paul Skeens because you don't know what you're going to get from those other 2 guys, or do you stick with the formula? He's your Friday guy. You're sticking with him.
16 years ago, I asked Tim Corbin the same question. Vandy was going to play Austin Peay in the first of this long run of regionals that Vandy has hosted. And here's what ended up happening. Austin Peay had a kid, Sean Kelly, who ended up pitching in the major leagues. I don't remember all the teams. I know at one point Kelly was a member of the Washington Nationals. And it was one of the most tense, tight games I've ever seen. If I remember correctly, Vandy had to score in either the bottom of the 8th or the bottom of the 9th to tie, and then won the game, I want to say, in 11 innings. Because I was right there with everybody going, oh, hold Price for Michigan. Well, you know, now
everybody says you got to win the first one.
Let me say this. This is maybe a little different scenario in that, read that record Tulane. It was like 19 and 40.
19 and 40.
Okay, so they had a week of great baseball where they beat God only knows what odds. If I'm LSU, I would have seriously considered holding the big kid back.
that's what has been the consensus. Listen to reporters talk and LSU people. A lot of the fans are not happy with this decision.
But here's the phony piece of it. If you hold him back and Tulane wins, all those people who've been screaming and yelling like me would go under the table like this, and they don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
They run and hide.
Yeah. So it's
the classic second guess.
It is. I'm on the side of you got to win that first game, and let everything kind of follow suit after that.
I like the first question. I thought it was really good. David, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10.
That's a really good grade. That's going to be hard to top.
Mm-hmm.
So, Billy did college baseball. I'm going to go to the NFL and to the hometown Tennessee Titans.
The National Football League.
Correct. So, I'm going to go through the Titans' first game in November. The first 8 games of the year, they're going to be an underdog in 7 of them. The only favorite they're probably going to be in is the home game against Atlanta on October 29th. They're probably going to be a road dog versus New Orleans on the road. Road dog or a home dog against the Chargers, road dog against Cleveland, so on and so forth. In the first 8 games of the year, what would the Titans' record have to be for us to see a Will Levis appearance in that 9th game at Tampa Bay?
Unfortunately, it may be more than just record. It may be, okay, if Jacksonville's the best team in the division, is there still a shot to get there, even with a miserable start? And so that's one of the factors you have to think about. Now, clearly, if you're 1-7 and you're out of it, what difference does it make? Put Levis in and find out some things. 2-6, I would think the same thing. 3-5, I would say it'd be only 1-7, 2-6, and God forbid, 0 for 8.
Interesting.
Good questions early.
The fan base will be clamoring for him, though, if it is 3-5.
Yeah, but some of that will depend on what if the division leader in a division that we think sucks is only 4-4.
Fair.
See, that's that hit now. If your division leader's 7-2, then you got a different story. Some of it comes down to if we think Jacksonville's the best team in the division, and right now we do, what's their record?
Yeah. I'm not saying they will be, but there is a good chance that they might be 0-4 to start the year at New Orleans, home versus the Chargers, on the road against the Browns, who have Deshaun Watson, and then back home against Cincinnati. So there might be some rumors going into that Indianapolis game week 5.
Better win some home games.
All right. You ready for mine?
Billy, let me ask you this. If somebody is watching this and they're saying, damn, those are good questions, let me see if I've got one. How do they get involved?
Well, there's a comment section on our YouTube channel, and we've got a decent amount watching on YouTube. So if you've got a question for George, the comment section is just to the right of that screen where you're watching us. So type in that question. We will see them right away, and we'll get them over to George. If you're also watching on Twitter, I'll try to catch those and get them over. And then on Facebook as well. So there's lots of different ways to fire questions at the old director.
Boy, this is exciting, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. All right, George, the SEC 8-game schedule, of course, was announced. And obviously there's a lot of talk about it. Some people coming out, I'm hearing this morning about how awful decision by Greg Sankey. I don't know if I'd go that far. But
he wasn't the one that made it, was he?
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, he sort of signs off on it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, did he not? I mean, did they not vote on this?
Yeah, I mean, there were other people involved. And I guess I should have worded it differently. But
we may have to take a point away,
Lack of background
That's
information.
That's what they do in boxing.
George, I want to ask you about the top teams in the SEC.
Okay.
Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee. Right now, where we stand ahead of this season, obviously Georgia trying to three-peat. Where would you rank that top tier, or if they're even in your top tier? Does your top tier look a little bit different? But if you were to name and rank a top tier in SEC football, ahead of this season, as they stand right now, where would you put those 4 teams that I named, or would you add and throw a 5th team in there?
Okay, Georgia would be there simply, they have earned the right in June to be at the very top. They are back-to-back, defending national champions. They've earned that. Alabama has earned really close, but not quite at Georgia for the moment in the 2-hole. The Tennessee thing, by the way, did anybody notice that Tennessee's opener at Nissan Stadium against Virginia is an 11 in the morning game? Can you say hope for cloud cover on September what's the date, 2nd or 3rd?
Vol fans are not going to like that.
Oh, my God. I don't think anybody's paid any attention to it yet, but it came out a couple of days ago. Roast Fest.
Why they even play that? What's the point of playing that at Nissan Stadium?
Oh, I think Tennessee wants to come in here and play a game in Middle Tennessee. I get that.
I don't know. Tony talks about it all the time, and I never really thought about it until he started talking about it.
You mean that it's a waste?
Yeah, I mean, of not necessarily travel, but just sort of you've got most of your fans in Knoxville already. I guess the trip to Nashville is nice, but
Neyland has more seats than Nissan. Monetarily,
30,000 more.
You would make more at Neyland than
you're losing out on money if you're Tennessee and Danny White. But
now let me ask this: are there students back on Labor Day? I don't know what Tennessee's academic schedule is.
I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
So anyway, you were asking to sort of tier it.
Yeah.
So I think you have to go with LSU and Tennessee in the 3 and the 4 hole. LSU really came on late. I grudgingly am having to admit Joe Milton surprised me at the end of the season. I would feel a lot better if it was Hendon Hooker. Instead of Joe Milton. So I'll go Tennessee 4th in that group, but subject to a lot of change. We're sitting here yapping this in June. So, yeah, that'd be my 1 through 4. Georgia, Bama, LSU, Tennessee. Auburn should be better under Hugh Freeze. Florida bound to be better in year 2 under Billy Napier because they weren't very good. Then the question becomes A&M. Okay, Jimbo Fisher's under a lot of fire because those little J.R. Ewing wannabes down there have thrown some serious bucks into NIL. And I believe if he doesn't hit close to double digits in wins, there may be a coaching change there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's a quick plug.
Did I miss one that you think I should have gotten?
Vandy?
No.
Is Vandy in a tier, or are they just bottom?
Well,
do they deserve that conversation?
No, I was talking about top tier.
Okay.
David, what were you trying to do there? Take a cheap shot?
I was just trying to see if you thought Vandy might be bowl eligible this year.
There you go.
Possibility.
Well, that's a different kind of question. For instance, going into the Tennessee game, which turned out to be a disaster, they played a final game with a chance to go to a bowl. Now, they weren't anywhere close, and that had to douse some real cold water on that program because they had just gone to Kentucky and won, beat Florida here. Florida was awful. And all of a sudden you're getting excited, and Tennessee boat raced them. And it could have been worse.
Yeah.
You done, Billy? That was your question?
I'm done.
Better questions this time, Billy. Proud of you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I'm going to go to Georgia's.
Perhaps you need to worry more about your questions.
Well, I'm going to go to Georgia's favorite team, and this is a joke. We're going to go to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Are we now?
Adam Silver took the podium last night saying that Ja Morant will be suspended again. It's just a matter of time. This will be strike 2 for him publicly, but behind the scenes, there have been other strikes with Ja Morant as well. At what point, if you're the Memphis Grizzlies, George, is it best for you and your organization to maybe move on from Ja Morant and for Ja Morant to maybe move on from Memphis as well?
I don't think they're anywhere close to that because I think they have put so many of their eggs in the Ja Morant basket. I don't think they're anywhere close to doing that. Now, what I think is going to happen, I think he's going to get somewhere between a 25 to 40 game suspension. He has acted like a complete moron, and that's what he deserves. He deserves to be treated that way because what he has done is just downright stupid. It makes no sense whatsoever. To me, this kid is at a crossroads on a lot of fronts. I mean, is this toting a gun worth losing in his life? Not $1 million or $2 million, but tens of millions of dollars. I mean, someday he's going to look back and go, what the hell was I doing? The Grizzlies are in a tough position because they have put so many of their eggs in his basket that my guess is they're going to see this through to some finish line. I don't think they're there yet.
And it's truly a hard question because he is a superstar player. He's a franchise player, taken second overall. If they would have got the first overall pick, they would have took Zion, which to now would have been a bust compared to Ja Morant.
Right.
But if he's suspended 20-plus games, that could affect your playoff seeding or the fact that you make the playoffs next year. So at what point is that not worth what he's giving you damage-wise, PR-wise?
Well, let me ask you this. Have you really read anybody that matters that says this is the end?
No, it's just a fair question because how much more can you put up with it? He has not learned his lesson to this point. This is strike 2.
No, he hadn't.
So he's already been suspended once. This is going to be the second suspension. At what point to teach him a lesson that you kind of rid yourself? And I'm also saying what's best for Ja? Is getting out of Memphis what's best for him?
Well, I think one thing the Grizzlies have got to do, and I suspect they have, is they have identified who's he hanging around with that's certainly not helping him. Is there anybody in his friend base that offers anything positive in his life? It appears there are several who he hangs around with that are negatives, and that's not to take away from the fact that he's got to have the smarts enough to make right decisions. But he's also at a young age, doesn't seem like he's getting a lot of great help from whoever his friend base is.
Yeah, I really feel for the Grizzlies and their fans because I thought, we all thought when they drafted Ja Morant, like David said, that they had a lot to look forward to. And, they were winning and they started winning quick. They got Dylan Brooks, but just feels like they sort of lost that control of the locker. I mean, Dylan Brooks was a loose cannon. You're looking at Ja Morant right now off the court, and now Dylan Brooks is gone. And it feels like, if you lose Ja, like David's sort of hinting at, I mean, all of a sudden that's gone, like in 2 years. So I start to feel for that fan base. You want to see the Grizzlies do well, but I don't know that this city deserve this. And a lot of it's on Ja's shoulders. I mean,
here's one other ugly thought that I don't have any basis for. But I do wonder, and I bet a lot of people wonder, was there some of this at Murray State that we never knew about?
Who knows? I mean,
don't know.
He grew up in the suburbs of South Carolina. I mean, it's not like he had a tough upbringing that you see a lot of times. And it's sort of the opposite story where they do have that tough upbringing, but they come back stronger and then they make a name for themselves and they're able to provide for their town or city. For Ja Morant, and I could be wrong here, but from what I've heard and what I've seen, he didn't have a tough upbringing from what we know about him. So that's just what's weird about it, about the whole story.
A lot of people have mentioned about his father, his father taking more of an influence in his life. Well, the problem is Ja Morant is now the breadwinner of his family. So it seems like he makes most of the decision. He's paying the bills for everybody. So they're not going to, stand up to Ja if they're having a hand in his pocket. So that's just The problem with it, his dad can't be a true father figure for him because he's living in the house with job, making some money off of him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and his dad has made some mistakes as well along the way on the sideline. I mean, it's just a weird story.
4 questions today I thought was a rousing success.
Riveting.
It really was.
This is cutting edge segment.
After the break, we will have Plaster Bet of the Day. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Yes, 3 picks today. This is big stuff. Stay tuned. More from the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue when we come back.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Lanes. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between. Discover what Hit City has to offer. Single game tickets are on sale now.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome back in. It is time for Bet of the Day on a Friday. Presented to you by Bart Durham.
Bets for the weekend.
Injury law firm. They are, simply put, the best in the business. They are lawyers you can trust. So give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. And as simple as this, George needs a W. Bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, I do.
You've taken in some water.
Taken on water. You don't take in water.
I remember at
Not
one
on
point.
this. You take on some water.
At one point, I remember George was 15 games above 500.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, look, stuff happens.
The baseball has gotten to him this week.
Big opportunity this weekend, though.
Yeah, he's gonna.
Listen. So I've got 3 plays for all of you. Gather around your television sets because Daddy is home. And just by the sheer, the law of probability, I'm bound to get some stuff right.
I'm getting my popcorn ready. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Here goes. Let's start with the hockey tomorrow night. This one scares me. I'm taking Vegas. By the way, it's not Las Vegas. It's Vegas. Vegas Golden Knights. Here's the thing. I think they bring more skill level to this than Florida. But Florida, the Panthers have brought a grittiness that has been incredible. Now, it's been a month and a half ago since they beat the Boston Bruins. But remember, they were down a goal in Game 7 with like a minute and a half to play, flipped one in to send it to OT, and then won it in OT, which, moved them on now to round 4, which is the Stanley Cup Final. I'm going with Vegas, but barely. I love Florida's grittiness. NBA, let's go to that. There it is. There's nothing that you saw last night that would give you a ton of confidence in Miami except for this. They were one shot away from pulling the line last night. They had a good fourth quarter. Denver fell asleep, and Miami +9 almost pulled it off. I think Sunday night, this is a much different game. I think Miami will view this not do or die, but one of those we need to win, force a 1-1 tie in the series, and if we don't do that, at least we put some seeds of doubt in Denver. Thus, Miami +8.5. And finally, we pick out a baseball game. We go to Chavez Ravine. Dodgers behind Clayton Kershaw beat the Yankees. Think about this. Interleague play, this is the iconic matchup for the weekend. Dodgers-Yankees. They played in World Series any number of times. Twice when I was in college, they got together in the World Series. This is a big matchup. Hershiser, gosh. A little slippage there. Clayton Kershaw will be the difference, and the Dodgers tonight will get a win. Anybody believe I go 3-0?
I think you've got a good shot here. The Yankees, you never know what they're going to do. And Miami, they were close. So I don't know why you would change anything there. And then Vegas, I don't hate the Vegas pick. Florida's been on such a roll. Can they keep it rolling? It's tough in the finals. You've got these 3 playoff series before, but now you're in the finals. This is for all the marbles. So I don't know. I think he could have a nice little weekend here, David.
David, do you see 3-0?
It's a possibility. Who's pitching for New York tonight in that game against Kershaw?
If it's Garrett Cole.
David Cone.
That would be false.
Who is it? I don't know.
That's an important thing.
Yeah, I know. I should know that.
You didn't look into that, George?
Well,
if it is Garrett Cole, you might be in trouble.
Before you bet against Garrett Cole?
Yeah, I'm assuming that I knew that, but I can't prove it at the moment. So just bear with me a minute. This is really good live television. The pitcher tonight for the Yankees is
Luis Severino.
Yeah. I'll take Clayton Kershaw. Okay. Severino's got talent. Kershaw has experience.
Boom.
Big game Clayton.
Big game Clayton. I like it.
Yeah.
That big whopping 75-mile-an-hour curveball.
Yeah, well, it's gotten a lot done in a great Hall of Fame career. By the way, I want you all to think about a question when we come back. Now, we're going to go get reports on the Vandy Regional after the break, but I will pose this question that I want you to answer. If Jimmy Butler's career ended tonight, is he a Hall of Famer? Don't answer it. Think about it. We'll take a break, and then we'll wrap this puppy up when we come back.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget.
Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at bairdifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Okay, final segment of the show. Real quickly, Billy, give me an NCAA tournament update in baseball to the moment.
To the moment, George, will start with Clemson and Lipscomb. Clemson scores, I don't even know how many runs. They scored a bunch of runs late in that game to win and beat the Bisons 12-5. But give credit to Coach Forehand and that program. They fought for most of that game. So
they led 4-3 at one point.
Yeah, I mean, they played well. They pitched well. Their starter pitched well. But you get into that bullpen, it's a whole different ball game. So we'll see what Lipscomb does tomorrow. They'll play the loser of Tennessee and Charlotte, who will start at 5 o'clock. Rumble through some of the finals. Virginia beats Army 15-1. Kentucky over Ball State 4-0. Texas Tech beats UConn in the Gainesville Regional 3-2. Indiana State over Wright State 6-5. NC State beats Campbell 5-1 over in Columbia. Oregon beats Xavier 5-4 here in Nashville. Washington beats Dallas Baptist 9-5 in the Stillwater Regional. In Conway, Duke beats UNC Wilmington 12-3. Maryland beats Northeastern 7-2 up in Winston-Salem. We've got a few games going on right now. And there's still no score between Louisiana and Texas. They are in the top of the 5th. Samford has jumped out to a 4-1 lead over Southern Miss. They are in the bottom of the 10th, so it looks like Samford's going to pull off the upset over Southern Miss. Great season for Samford this year. LSU leads Tulane 6-0 in the bottom of the 6th. Arkansas has taken the lead over Santa Clara out in Fayetteville 5-3 in the top of the 5th. And Troy and Boston College down in Tuscaloosa are still delayed, and they are tied at 3. And again, later tonight, Tennessee and Charlotte at 5 o'clock. Vandy and Eastern Illinois at 7.
There's a pretty good amount of rain to the south of Murfreesboro, going down into Alabama. Now, they're predicting rain here 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Don't see it so far on the radar. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
So Oregon with the win. By the way, did you say Arkansas has grabbed the lead?
Arkansas has grabbed the lead over Santa Clara 5-3.
Okay. So Oregon with their win today, the come from behind, moves into the winner's bracket tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. They'll face either Vandy or Eastern Illinois. Let's go back out to Vandy, where Butch Samide is in a car near you. Butch?
Well, George, I talked to my parole officer. I was allowed to leave Vandy jail, so I was able to drive home, thankfully. But, yes, it was a fantastic game. Oregon coming out on top, in all likelihood to play Vandy. Obviously, you still have to play that game. Vandy fans knock on wood. But, the numbers will tell you that in every statistical category, it looks like it's going to be Oregon versus Vanderbilt.
Okay, how did Oregon rally late?
I mean, honestly, it's just through their offense. That's what took them all the way to the Pac-12 championship, and that's what has now propelled them to a 7-game win streak. I think that the spark plug in all of this, a player named Riku Nishida for Oregon, he is their leadoff hitter, hitting about .320. He steals bags. He gets walks. He had an infield hit to start the game for Oregon. Their dugout erupted. It was loud. It was energetic. And then he ended up coming around and scoring. And then later in the game, he had the first double that led to the 3 consecutive doubles that gave Oregon the lead. I was really impressed with how he played. He's just an annoying at-bat for a pitcher. But I'll tell you what, this whole Oregon team can hit, and they can hit really well.
Okay, great work on your end. Butch, appreciate the updates, and go meet with your parole officer.
I will. Thank you, George.
Let us know how that turns out. Now let's check in with Jack Gold, who, best to my knowledge, does not have a parole officer. Jack,
no, I was better than Butch there.
Good for you. Congratulations. So Vandy, Eastern Illinois tonight. I mentioned David Price had a game, gosh, it's now been 16 years ago, where an Austin Peay team that was a huge underdog took Vandy to extra innings, and there was a tension from the 6th inning on that you could feel. You could cut it with a knife. Does Eastern Illinois bring that kind of potential pitching to game 1 tonight? Let's talk about the matchup.
So, yeah, Eastern Illinois is throwing their guy tonight. His name's Kai Hampton. He's also a 5th-year senior like most of their good players are. He's not going to overwhelm you with speed or anything. He's a righty, sitting low 90s. But he's going to keep it in the ballpark. He's only given up 6 homers all year. He's going to keep him in the game. He's gone 8-9 innings, almost 9 innings a few times this year. I think for Vandy, it's going to be key just to get him out of the game, because once he's out, it kind of gets rough.
Which is the case with a lot of your college bullpens. If you can get into them, most teams may have a closer, but unlike the big leagues where you've got a guy in the 5th, a long reliever, and a 6th inning, and not so much so in college. Okay, talk to me about Vandy tonight, because over the last month or so, who pitches game 1, in this case on a Friday in the SEC, has really been topsy-turvy.
So, yeah, they're throwing Devin Futrell tonight, who's kind of been the aura of consistency, or really just the aura of health for them. They're not expecting Carter Holton to be back really all year, maybe if they made the College World Series, but I wouldn't expect to see him. And then Hunter Owen, who might be slightly more talented than Futrell. He just made his first start last week in the SC tournament. I'd expect to see him tomorrow, but Futrell's going to come in tonight. I think they're hoping to get a long outing out of him. and he's been real consistent all year. So
that's it. So let's get to the important thing. What kind of golf game will you bring to the foursome on Monday that I'm a part of, as is your dad?
I'll probably bring you the most false promises the entire time I'm out there, because I'll probably stripe a drive off one and then hit about 3 feet behind it the next shot. I'm capable of looking like a real golfer and also looking like someone who's never played before.
And Billy, what are my capabilities?
Hitting your driver no further than about 140 yards, but you'll hit it
Grandma.
straight. Yeah. So you'll probably be playing George's ball more times than not, Jack.
Which means we're not winning anything.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have to play either of our balls.
Jack, good work today. Appreciate it. We'll see you early next week.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Jack.
Jack Gold reporting from a car near you. Okay, guys, we're about done.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no? If his career ended today, is Jimmy Butler a Hall of Famer? Billy?
I think yes. I think I know his career would not have been as long as a lot of other Hall of Famers. But I think in this short time, he's done so much for that franchise. He is being compared to a guy like Michael Jordan. I know there's some conspiracies that, he might be Michael Jordan's son. There are obviously conspiracies. But
Michael Jordan at least won a championship.
Yeah, but, I mean, look at Jimmy Butler. He could get a championship. I know we're talking about right now, but if he beats the Nuggets, ask me in a couple weeks, that's a hell yes.
So he's a 6-time All-Star, 5 times he's made All-NBA, 5-time All-Defensive Team. Only 18 points per game, though. I think he's majority been known for his defensive prowess. We haven't really seen him as that scorer that he's kind of emerged lately in Miami, with the predominant portion of his career being in Chicago. I would say he is not, just for the simple fact that he's not won a championship. And through this run where he's been in the NBA, I don't think we've ever considered him a top 10 player in the NBA. We haven't talked about him in that nature. So I can't just put him in there in that echelon when he hasn't won a championship on his own and he really hasn't been considered a superstar. He's a great player, but he's not a superstar.
He is now.
I just think these playoffs did a lot for me. Now, again, I'm probably leaning more towards ask me in 2 weeks. I just kind of said yes because my gut tells me that. But there's a good point against it, too. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have a championship. But these playoffs did a hell of a lot to sort of change that.
Good stuff. We're done. See you Monday.